Hey, welcome to another episode of Explain Yourself. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Benjamin Dobie Morris. Ben, how's it going? Oh, Ben, we got Ben frozen over there. It's all good. We're gonna bring in our guest here. We got Jay. How's it going, Jay?
Good, good, Joey. It's great to be here with you and Ben.
It's all good. We got Ben's a little frozen. He might jump right in here for a second. But please, man, let's jump right into it and talk a little bit about your book here. But I'm gonna pull this up while he's trying to figure all that fun stuff out. It might not pop up because it's coming from his computer. But
Okay,
please tell us who you are and give us a log line of your book while I pull that up from my end.
sure. Yeah. So my name is Jay Red. I draw and create my own indie comics. So right now I'm in the middle of a series called Incision. Got the third issue that's about to launch on Kickstarter here in a few days. And the idea behind Incision is it's kind of a throwback to superhero comics of specifically like the early '90s. That's kind of the era that I got in at, and kind of the stuff that I love and that I'm kind of going back now and collecting is like omnibuses and that kind of thing. And so I thought, I wanted to make my own, I wanted to see could I create, a comic in that vein. Because that was kind of always my goal. Like, you know, growing up, I want to draw comics, want to do this and that. And this is the style, that I always looked up to and always collected. And so this is kind of my love letter to that era. It celebrates that kind of early '90s ridiculousness.
Mhm.
So it's not deconstructing, it's not critiquing or anything like that. It's just unabashed, diving into it, having fun with it. That's the whole point of the series. And so yeah, if you're a fan of Wolverine, X-Men, Cyberpunk, a lot of those influences are in this. It's Incision, which is you can kind of see the where I'm pulling homages from for that. In the he's a man who can't remember his past. He's enhanced with bioweaponry, but the twist is it's in this alternate present world that's very cyberpunk, very kind of hard sci-fi, and so it's like a borderline dystopian world with a lot of weird stuff. A lot of body modifications, people with powers, and all kinds of things. So yeah, I've got the third issue that we're about to launch. He comes face to face with the series villain in this issue, so it's very action heavy. It was a lot of fun to make, and yeah, just excited to get this out there soon.
Yeah, I read through. Jay was nice enough to send over some comps of his previous issues and the in progress third one, and I just really loved. I loved the whole thing, but I think to touch on what you said about, you kind of took the '90s stuff, you didn't want to deconstruct it necessarily, but what I kind of thought it was really noticeable that you did was you really took all the tropes and you just sort of punched them up. I think you took the
Thank you.
mutant power thing and dealt with it in a really interesting way. And actually, I've got a question about that I want to ask you later. But I'd say everything that you'd see in like the Brigade or Youngblood or something like that from Liefeld, they kind of took a lot of things and just presented them as if they were given. Like it was a little cyberpunky, but they didn't sort of explain, is this our world? Did something happen to make the tech this much better? Is it 5 years in the future? All of which can be really interesting things. And you kind of said, okay, let's get to a point where I've got those sort of visuals, that kind of tech, those sort of story conventions, but also then find ways to just make it all make sense together and play off each other in fun ways. So I feel like reading this, every time I see an issue of Brigade or something like that in a quarter box, I buy it and I take it home and I read it. It's fun, but it's just a lot of the stuff. I feel like reading your issues, which I'm up to 3 now. Um, I got everything that I wanted to see in those comics, but in yours, it made sense and it was paced well, and I was kind of on board for all the elements rather than seeing them just be there.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Yeah, that's kind of what I strove for. I originally created, the lore of this universe and kind of wanted to work that out, just to have a world that I could drop this story into and have it make sense. So yeah, because I'm kind of with you. You'd see all this crazy stuff in these comics, and you're like, what's the rationale there? Like, is the whole
Mm-hmm.
world like that. Like, how did, how does everybody have their own spaceship? This kind of stuff. It, yeah, it's like, yeah, you want to kind of know, you don't want to know everything, but you want some kind of a rationale there. So yeah, I was trying to do that. So I appreciate you picking up on that.
Yeah, it just seemed like that was a great approach. I was like looking at all that stuff. You can just see, all the things you kind of remember, but it's really clear, I think, from your first scene that you're going to deal with that in a way that you're going to set out the rules, you're going to reveal things at the right time, and it's going to be easy to follow along with. So I had a question about the powers. And I hope this isn't a spoiler because you kind of get into it early on. There was sort of an event that caused people to get powers. They sort of function like mutant powers in that not everybody has a great ability, so people just look a little funny. So it's very easy to understand in that way. But there's also kind of a viral aspect to it. And it kind of seems like as things go on, people can sort of get powers in the same way you can pick up a disease or something like that, or a trait. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so in the world of the story, roughly 20 years beforehand, there was this event that threatened the world. It was an interdimensional incursion. I've got the specifics worked out, but I'm saving a lot of that reveal for later on, as it'll play into future issues. But Incision was a project that was designed as a way to intercept and fight this incursion. Normal means of attack would not work, and so sort of an unorthodox approach was created, sort of this living weapon idea. And so his interaction with that, and in stopping that, sort of triggered this event that spread across the world. And so as a result, some people are what's referred to as jacks, because the event was known as the hijack. So this other realm is trying to hijack our world. So these people are the jacks. That's sort of our analog to mutants in this world, and kind of just a justification for being able to have people with cool powers and have fun in the story in that way. I'm going to dive a little deeper into it in issue 4. It's going to have some flashbacks and things like that. So it's just kind of teased so far, but yeah, I'll be getting into that in the final 2 issues, which would be issues 4 and 5, because it'll be a 5-issue series once it's completed.
Oh, we may have lost Ben again.
Oh man.
It's all good. I love this stuff. It definitely has this this very reminiscent to like 90s stuff style stuff. Talk to me a little bit more about what you guys are doing with this campaign. You guys, this is issue 1 through 3, so you got 2 issues before this.
Mhm.
If I was a brand new person coming in today, what do you have that you guys are offering brand new readers?
Yeah, so we've got tiers for brand new readers, and as well as tiers for people that have been following the project thus far. So, we'll have a combined digital tier. You can get all 3 issues together, as well as a physical tier of the same thing. You can get just the standalone issues as add-ons. We've got a lot of fun stuff. We've also got some cool add-ons. Working with Whamstand to do some cool new things. Yeah, new things for him. These little figurines. I think he's calling them Wham Figs, which is gonna be pretty sweet. And as well as custom, Wham stands and trading card stands with a custom Incision trading card. Also got in the rewards doing some original art, a page from the interior, and then cover art as well. I do a lot of my work digitally, but I experimented with doing a few pages traditionally. Just I know a lot of people, enjoy being able to, build up a collection of, indie comic art, and so I wanted to have an offering for that. We've got a few other fun things as well, but yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Very, very cool. And if you guys are watching or listening now, you guys can head over to Kickstarter and hit notify me on launch. You guys can find it by typing in Incision 1 through 3 or looking up J Red I just pulled it up where you guys can see it on screen now if you guys are watching. Follow them there and you guys can check it out. All right, so you got some really great visuals here, and you're partnering with some other creative minds like Whampstand and all their great things that they come out with. What other tidbits are you guys going to be offering some of the return backers?
So we'll have a digital deluxe tier, and that's something I do on every campaign where we'll do updated like desktop backgrounds, posters, wallpapers, all kinds of fun digital stuff, as well as digital copies of past books that I've done. We've got a graphic novel called Abduction, a comic called The Body, a comic called Superposition, just some past projects. You can kind of, get them bundled there and, save some money there buying them as a bundle. Also, let's see. So we got the digital deluxe.
Those bundle deals are like bundle deals and catch-up tiers and like things of that nature are almost essential sometimes when it comes to these, because there's always somebody who's going to be jumping on at some weird random point. Like you can go 4 or 5 campaigns in and people are like, what, why haven't I seen this?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. And you got to be prepared for that. So, I'm trying to have something, for everybody that's, they're coming in new, or if they've seen it a while, or maybe they're waiting, till it's further along to see if, this thing is going to go the distance. I'm there for it. Another fun thing is I do a process scene for each issue. So doing another one for this issue 3 as well. So it's going to have some cool like process shots, like page development from thumbnail to finished page.
Very cool.
Concept sketches, all kinds of stuff. I do some like 3D modeling for like reference for certain tech, like Counterforce's helmet, and just Incision's arm blades. I've actually modeled those out so I can like pose them at any angle and try to get them, try to get it as realistic as possible. All that kind of stuff will be in the process scene. So an updated process scene for this campaign, just like the previous 2 campaigns. So that'll be really fun as well.
Is that going to be like a physical printed edition, or is it digital only?
So it'll be both. It'll be included with the digital tiers, and then I also do a print edition as well, and send that out with the printed copies of Incision.
That's super cool. I love that. And will it be black and white colored?
I've been doing them full color, and I'll probably do this one full color as well. I have to take a look at. I'm still putting together the guts of the process scene, but probably go full color with it as well.
I love that. You have these little extras that you get with campaigns and stuff like that. Ben, it looks like we got you back, man.
Yeah, so I wanted to share some pages from issue 2 just so we had some other looks at this great artwork. But every time I've done it, it kicks me off. So that's fun.
Oh man.
My bars are okay, but it's just not having that. I think the files are pretty high res.
Yeah, lately StreamYard has been very weird. So it's
okay.
It's been kicked. We talked a little bit about it before we kicked us out, and just been doing some weird stuff. So, I mean, if you guys have a way to send them over to me, I can try to see if we can throw them up. But if they're a little too high res, StreamYard may not be.
Yeah, I think it's just Google is the Chrome is having problems with. I'll forward it to you. I mean,
it's sometimes, like I said, they did an update, and looks like they're doing a lot more new stuff that they're rolling out. So, there's a couple of beta things that they're talking about in emails. So, well, whatever. It's fun, right? Yeah. Fun. Adobe did that the other day to me. Adobe did that the other day to me. They updated, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I had to go back.
I never update right away. Never.
Oh my gosh, it made me so mad. No, one thing it forced me to do it because or else I couldn't save my project, and I said, "Oh my!" God. And I had it was a whole thing. We can talk about a whole freaking about how Adobe's updates make me mad.
Photoshop's driving me nuts right now. Since I updated it, whenever I double click on a PSD file, it wants to open it in Illustrator, and it's like, "Do you want to flatten this?" And I'm like, "No, I want to open it in Photoshop." So I have to drag it to Photoshop every time.
And then Illustrator is being weird, like because they did that whole new thing where we're already going into it, where you could just hit a plus sign and it gives you an artboard next to it, but like. It's like when I went to go save something, I was like, "No, I don't want another artboard." Yeah. Like, I want to export this. What the heck is going on, man? Like, yeah,
I've never used multiple artboards. I've been using Illustrator for
No.
20 years.
right.
I've never liked that feature, and in fact, on my old computer, I had to finally stop doing it. I had
Yeah.
the version of Illustrator I bought from my old employer when I went out on my own, which was from, and it was old then. So it was probably the version from, I would say, 2000, something like that. And I used that for a long time just because it was before they added so many features. And some of those are really cool and useful.
Right.
In fact, we've used a lot of those 3D stuff for some of our titles in our Kickstarter campaigns. It just looks good. So I'm not saying that it's all bad, but there's so much junk they throw in there. It's super slow. And I was using this ancient version until about 5 years ago sometimes.
Oh wow.
Just because it was fast and it worked and it did what I wanted to do.
It does what you do. It does what you want to do, and you know how to use it. And
Yeah.
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 And then you start getting used to it, and you're like, okay. And then they're like, here's a new update, and you're like, oh man, great.
I don't want AI in my Illustrator.
Listen, you can't get rid of it, but now you're just like these. Look at, here we go. We're going into it, guys. Like now it's like now you go in to get these like reference files, or you go in to get your license files, right, to like go use for different things, and most of them are AI. You're like, oh my gosh, why?
Yeah.
Oh man,
there's times I look up reference for things, and I'm like, I gotta look at maybe 2 or 3 versions of that car, something like whatever it happens to be, to make sure I'm not just looking at, it's especially when it's something that's very detailed that an expert, somebody buying it, somebody that's into it is going to know. And that's something I think is going to be really important if you're an artist and you're getting scripts from people. They say it's this type of gun and from this type of soldier, like from this era, or this type of car with this sort of modification. But that, car people are going to know that. Gun people, oh my God, don't get me started.
Yeah.
They know if you get one little thing wrong, they're going to be like, that's not where that switch goes. And that's fine. You have to be aware of it. But now with all the stuff that's out there, some of it looks good. Every now and then when one of the big companies makes a jump, right when I had gotten used to the fact, like I can kind of tell the AI stuff and not the AI stuff, there'll be like a thing like that would have fooled me if I didn't know better. So yeah, definitely something artists have to be aware of. Jay, I wanted to ask you, you're the artist on this as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I did kind of think when I was reading your project, and I had to go back and check to make sure, there's something about the way you've organized this that bring in the influences, but I think also you've done it in a way that gets the visuals front and center as often as possible. Do you really think that comes from, I think that's something I try to do in my projects, and I'm a writer artist as well. Is that something where when you kind of sit down to write the story or outline it, however you start, it does seem like you've got really good pacing, your writing chops are solid, but you also, it almost feels like visually you have those moments you really wanted to hit. How do you kind of plan that out? Do you start with the images or?
With Incision specifically, it's very much driven by the idea of the visuals first. Like I'll have an idea of, oh, this scene would look cool because I can, homage this, or I can, I just think of a cool visual and I'm like, well, what, how could we make that work? And so I'll come up with an idea that'll fit it, instead of having the idea first and then figuring out a cool visual that would fit that idea or that scene. So yeah, I definitely see things visually first. And that's being, I'm mostly an artist, I'm the writing part is a necessary part. But it's not my strongest suit. I actually work with my friend Billy Dixon, and he's a much stronger writer than I am. So he'll come in and kind of help me polish up dialogue and get story beats down a little smoother and things like that. So for me, I'm definitely more image focused, and I'm pretty comfortable plotting and getting the structure down. But then I'll have him come in and help, and then work with some other friends, Brandon DePillis, Zach Herring. They're kind of helping out as associate editors sort of on this book, and they'll just kind of look things over, and I'm just looking for, is this ridiculous? Does this work? Does that work? How could this be better? So yeah, I definitely get a lot of help, try and put out the best thing that I can. But yeah, I'm very, it's visuals first for me, as far as my thought process, for sure.
Yeah, I think I was rereading a quote from Todd McFarlane. He was debating with the writer, and I'm not sure if I'm going to mangle the quote just a little bit here, but he said, "You can sell a comic drawn by me and written by a monkey, but you can't sell a comic drawn by," and he said some pretty well-known writer's name and kind of besmirching a little bit. You can't sell a comic written by that guy and drawn by a monkey.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, and I think that there is something about comics where you have to say, like there is a way to look at this where I think you have to approach it like, yes, people are gonna, and this is true of movies and everything. You look at the poster first, you look at the image from the trailer first as you're scrolling through your feed. But comics, I think more than any of these as well, it is just about the image and at that first glance. And I think you kind of have to plan out that needs to be sort of the first thing you think about. I sort of think that is true, and I guess I would think that being an artist, but I just think there's a lot to that when you get, especially when Bendis became so popular doing these really dialogue heavy things, and everyone liked it. And I think most people reading comics also kind of aspire to do comics, and people that are more writers out there than artists, I think, saw that, really liked it, and that became popular. But the visuals just were so, you had pages and pages where nothing cool was happening. And I think you do kind of just, when you're an artist and you know you need something cool to happen every 2 or 3 pages or people are going to lose interest, you always have that front of mind. And maybe that's also just because as an artist, we want something cool to draw every 2-3 pages, or it gets boring for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I go into a shop, I flip through it. I'm looking at the art first, and if the art grabs me, I'm like, well, okay, what's this book about? And then take it from there. And I think you got to have something exciting on every page, at least one thing,
Yeah. Which is hilarious. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing exactly that through the Kickstarter. I'm going back and looking at some of your older issues and flipping through the pages. And these are great. These are good looking here. Didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I want everybody to know that we're looking through issue 1 and issue 2 on screen now if you guys are watching. So please don't be confused that this is not issue 3 yet.
Yeah, issue 3. It's currently being completed now. We've got a few more pages left to color. I'm working with Maya Apachic, and she's an awesome colorist. She's working on Primitive War, which is also apparently a movie coming out. I didn't even know that it was going to be a movie as well until the other day. I saw the trailer. I was like, that looks familiar. So she's incredible, and she's helping me out on this, doing some great colors. But yeah, we're wrapping those up, and then I've got the book all lettered and ready for press. I just got to update those pages once they're colored, and then that'll be done before the Kickstarter ends. So yeah, once the campaign wraps up, I'll pretty much be ready for print.
Yeah, I read you were kind enough to share 3 with me, and you mentioned that it wasn't done. It's like I could see that there were some pages that were a little more polished than others in terms of the color, but I was like, this is very, very close to done.
It's very close. Yeah, we've got all the pages flatted, and so she's going in now and just rendering those. I think she's got a little less than half to render, and she's real fast. So as they're coming in, I'm just looking at them. I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. So it's always cool to see pages come in colored, because it's kind of like seeing it for the first time, like a new thing. Mm-hmm. So I've colored a bit in the past, but it's not my strong suit. I don't enjoy it a whole lot. So I'm happy to have her help me out with that part.
Coloring a book takes a lot, and people don't understand.
It's insane. It is insane.
There's so many steps. You're like, what the heck?
It's so much work. Oh my god!
Well, especially now with the expectations that you are, and this, it's really tough to do if you're not the inker as well. People expect the light sources to have all these effects, to be consistent with what's drawn, and they may not have drawn it in the right way, where there's maybe references from different light sources going on. And that can make it really tough. And the colorist, in a lot of ways, is the person that you can gloss over a lot, but the colorist gets it, and that's it. They're the ones that have to solve the problem.
A lot of like modern books now, I'm looking through them, and I think the colorists are like the unsung heroes. Like, so much artwork now is very little heavy blacks, like a lot of just thin lines, a lot of open spaces, and it's really those colorists that are coming in and really making that thing pop.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, another creator was saying to me a month or two ago, or in a conversation, but was saying, he looks at Marvel stuff now, and he's like, a lot of the times the line work is not that great. A lot of indie books are even doing better, but the colorists are so on point that they just make that look like $1 million. And I've kind of looked at things since then with that in my head. And I think it's true. And there's obviously a lot of great artists doing great stuff there, but there are books that I'm like, yeah, the colorists really put the team on his back there and drag that one to the finish line in terms of being, I said professional quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, your book is definitely, I think your colorist also has a challenge. I would almost say there are panels I saw that had a really 90s influence, and it's a tough line to walk to kind of mix what was happening when people first were starting to use Photoshop for colors, hadn't quite refined it. And I think it's almost the hardest challenge they could have is they got to bring a little of that 90s stuff in there, but make it look good to people that are used to seeing stuff today.
Yeah, so that people will be like, "What the heck is this, man? What did you give me?"
Right. I'm glad you noticed that, because that was one of the directives. I was like, I do want these to look like these old comics, but I understand these old comics, they didn't have all these effects that we see today, and you kind of do need some of that to really get people's attention. So she's really found that line to balance really well, because it's not overly rendered the way a lot of modern comics are. But it's just enough to kind of give it that sleek look while kind of keeping it in that 90s style. So I'm really happy you picked up on that.
Yeah, I've been trying to look at some older stuff because I'm working on something that's a little bit 90s theme, or I want to bring that into it, and because they were stuff they did when they first got computers, but didn't look that good. And I just didn't care for it. So I'd always not use, say, like a yellow light source, because I'd look at DC's old comics in the 90s. They had computers, but they only had a few colors to work with. And sometimes it just didn't mesh well. And I'd always maybe think about putting something like that in, and sort of it looks kind of muddy, or it just reminds me of that way I didn't like. And then I'm trying to go back now and bring some of that in, make it work. And it is a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like you guys kind of hit that.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. with this image here that we're seeing right here on screen, which is your hero image there on the front, you're doing a little bit exactly what Ben mentioned before his internet cut out. You see some of the muted oranges, you see some of the muted brights here and things of that nature that kind of give that nostalgic faded feel, especially in some of the reds. And I think that he hit that exactly. It very reminiscent to the 90s style, but not to where you're like, oh, I see what you guys are doing, but it doesn't look quite good yet, right?
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that means a lot. That was kind of the whole idea going into it. So I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad you pick up on it. So that makes me happy.
Yeah. Ben, we got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know so my signal seems to be good, but it's just it's deciding that maybe it does not want to hear me talk about colors too much. It's like enough of that. It's just getting too deep into the details here. This is the Gong digital version.
It's between Adobe and Colors.
They're after us. Well, this might be a good time to take a quick break and play a couple messages, and then kind of switch over to some of the other stuff that goes into making the comic, putting your Kickstarter together, figuring out how to market it, all that stuff. But first, a couple of messages.
Click that mouse and warp into All Ages of Geek's website, your ultimate portal to everything geek culture. Here you'll find articles that speak your language, from the latest anime buzz to the coolest tech trends. Our mission, to celebrate geekdom in all its glory. Whether you're a gamer, a comic enthusiast, a 90s kid, or an anime aficionado, we've got something for you. Dive deep into them with All Ages of Geek.
Your comics take a lot of time and effort to create. Way too much to have them get damaged while shipping to your backers. Gemini Comic Supply mailers keep your comics safe in transit, and with the code GeekCollective10, you can get those mailers with 10% off your order. That's GeekCollective10. Enter it at checkout to get 10% off.
All right, and I want to switch over real quick here to your taste buds' favorite energy drink.
All right.
Dubby. Joey, take it.
Yes, this one. This one is one of my favorites here because if you guys know, you guys watch weekly. I usually have an energy drink in my hand, and that's how I keep this energy up, right? But I feel like it's a little too late in the night for me to be drinking an energy drink, so I don't like to crash, and then I stay up way too late. So I made the switch over to Dubby, which is my favorite drink right now because we are. This one has none of the crash. It's all the really great things of an energy drink, but without the gross stuff like any of those. It's got zero fillers, no artificial flavors, dyes, or proprietary blends. This is the star, right? This thing here is better than this has got like it's basically like coffee in a freaking canister here. It's got a nice amount of caffeine here. You got 100 milligrams of caffeine in this thing, and this is about 30 servings. I drink this almost every day, guys, and this thing is it's still pretty full. So definitely head on over to w.gg and type in Geek Collective 10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off one of these tubs here. And if you guys are in Tucson and you guys are going to be hanging out at Tucson Comic-Con, come to our table. I'm going to have a couple of these here. We're going to do some really fun stuff at our table. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to do giveaway comics. We're going to give some of this away. We're going to actually give away a Nintendo Switch 2. So make sure you guys are finding out where we are at Tucson Comic-Con, and you guys can find a way to find out how to win a Nintendo Switch 2. Listen, I've been having a blast playing my Nintendo Switch 2. I just received it to tell you guys a little bit about how we're doing that. So we'll have more information on how you guys can get one of these bad boys right here. A Nintendo Switch 2 just came out not too long ago. So you guys are going to get a way to we're going to give this away at Tucson Comic-Con. We'll let you guys know how to do that. Anyway, that's it for me there, Ben. I'm not going to be talking about any more things to promote there except for these guys. Talking about promotion. And the way you market different things. Let's talk a little bit about how you've been marketing this work. We're doing some fun stuff like these giveaways and things like that. So what kind of fun things that you've done with these different campaigns that you had to bring these things in? Because marketing is such a crazy, listen, it's the hardest thing to do because not one campaign is the same, not one comic book is the same, so you have to do things differently, right? And there's no one blanket way to market a certain thing. So how do you do it?
So I kind of I'll do a lot of comic conventions, and I put QR codes all over on bookmarks that I hand out for free with character art. I've got QR codes in some of the comics. I'm trying to drive people to like my website, my Instagram, places where I'm gonna later on show this is what I've got going right now, like on Kickstarter. Anywhere I think I can funnel people to see my updates, any attention I can get on the campaigns. So I'll do I create a video for each campaign because Kickstarter lets you have a featured video, and I'll use that. I'll take when I make that, I'll make a mobile version as well, so I can have some real Instagram reel content that gets pretty good viewership, better than posts, I feel like.
Yeah.
Lots of posting, just lots of posting through the campaign. Got an email list I've been putting to kind of building up over the years. Backer updates on past campaigns, just anything I can think of to reach people that are interested in these kinds of projects. I certainly haven't figured it out or cracked the secret, but it's just something I'm learning and trying to get better at with each campaign. You guys being nice enough to have me on your show, doing podcasts, stuff like that. I'll just whatever gets the word out, I try to do.
I think what caught my eye, something you posted on Facebook in one of the indie comics groups. I think you had those cards that you made mock-ups of that were kind of the 90s look, but also had a little bit of, just a little bit of modernity to it. It wasn't quite like, hey, I'm just recreating the X-Men, book. cards that went with it. But I'm doing a little bit of a spin on it. But you're going to get this vibe. You're going to get this fun thing from it, and that just like that caught my eye instantly, and it made me want to follow the project.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I've always kind of thought it's certainly the most fun part of coming up with ways to market your book. As a graphic designer and artist, I would of course think that. Is that kind of something you sit and think about, like, hey, is that just another thing that might get a few eyes, or that you saw somewhere else, or was it something where it's like, do you really surround and plan, how do I get it, while standing out, the vibe of this book across? Because your book just does have such a unique vibe to it.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm also a graphic designer for my day job, so I'm always thinking along those lines. What's a cool graphic I can put together? I always loved those early. I think it was the '92 set of those Marvel trading cards.
Yeah.
And so recreating that was a lot of fun. And then I ended up using it as a frame. So if I had work in progress images, I could pop that frame on it and post it instead of just posting the image by itself. And that way, there's a little call to action at the bottom. It says follow the, click the bio link to follow the Kickstarter. It says incision at the top. It just kind of gives some information without, having someone where they can just see it without having to read the post text. They can see it in the graphic. So, I just thought it was a fun thing to kind of two birds, one stone. It looks cool. I can show, work in progress artwork, but I can kind of spruce it up and kind of just have a call to action on every graphic pretty much.
No, I mean, it's interesting to hear you go through it, because I think you just have a good approach of the practical stuff you need to be doing there. And then also just the kind of things you need to worry about as far as getting your creative vision across. I think that does both. Looks like Joey got booted.
Yeah.
It's going after him now.
I'm next.
But yeah, well, you're the one here that talks, so we can go. No, it was you. But I think that's something that, mixing that nostalgia up with your, I think all of us kind of love old comics, but we really remember the ones that were popular, that we got super energized about when we were little, when we just first got into it. And I think creating artwork, and especially marketing artwork and posts that harken back to that, is a really good thing to do. I've heard a lot of people say that Kickstarter, indie comics creators going there with their superhero books specifically, face a really tough challenge. I've seen that to be true sometimes. I've also kind of seen exceptions to that rule, and I think I've done okay with my superhero book, but it did also have kind of a very specific retro vibe. I've seen other ones do well, and I also think yours is in that category as well, where you have, yes, it is another superhero book, but it's also got a very clear identity that I think makes it stand out a little bit from everybody else's. A lot of stuff just looks like, it's a little bit of Invincible and a little bit of this and a little of that, and there's not necessarily a big unique thing to it, where I think yours does say, hey, this is a remix of all these elements, and we really paid attention to that. Is that kind of something you thought about? Obviously that's part of your creative journey, I would think, in getting there, but is that something that you really thought about emphasizing as you're trying to market this, and especially getting it out there in Kickstarter?
Yeah, you're right about, the challenges with, if you're doing a superhero book and it's not one that people already know and exists with a big company, it's kind of an uphill battle. But I was dead set on doing the project anyway. It's just a life goal. Like I want to do this kind of project. I want to see if I have what it takes. I want to finish it through to the end, do a full, story arc. And so as a personal goal, like, it was a non-negotiable. I was going to do it. So my first projects on Kickstarter were more paranormal, kind of alien UFO based comics, and those did pretty well. And luckily, I try to, build on past successes. So when I started Incision, I wasn't really starting from scratch. I had people kind of knew my name by that point. They'd backed previous projects, so I could hit them up with backer updates, kind of get them interested in this. But it's a little harder for sure on Kickstarter with a superhero book, and there are certain types of comics that do really well on Kickstarter. I've never delved into some of those, but I'm just trying to stay true to the stuff that I'm passionate about and try to find my audience, because Kickstarter, it's still the best way.
Mhm.
They've got the biggest audience. It's the best game in town still. But yeah, it is more work. But you know, it's enjoyable, and there's worse ways to spend your free time. So I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm,
I think that.
I'm back now,
go ahead,
Ben. Hopefully, I'm.
You are back. Yeah.
Dude, listen, StreamYard, we love you. Don't boot us.
And take all the things we said back.
Yeah, we
Please, we surrender.
It's
We
the
love
AI overlords.
we will sacrifice a lamb later in your name. Dude, listen, I don't know what you've asked, so I might be asking some more questions that you just asked. But so we're doing some really fun stuff with this campaign. What are some of the things that you see that you're doing differently from the first time around?
Let's see. As far as the first issue,
As far as the first issue, marketing, getting your name out there, trying to get people to come aboard onto this to this new venture.
I think I'm doing better like when I do conventions in person, kind of because I have issues 1 and 2 now printed, so I can use these and be like, hey, I've got issue 3, it's launching soon. I'll make a pitch, I'll get people to sign up. So I'm getting kind of better at that person to person, getting the word out aspect. I'm getting better at Kickstarter itself. That's always a learning curve. They're always, adding features and changing things. So I've kind of got that down. I'm pretty happy with like how I've got my story page built out and how I've got the rewards visualized and structured. I don't want it to be information overload. I see some campaigns where it's just like a million things popping
Yeah.
out at you. I want to offer enough things to entice people, but at the same time, I don't want to overwhelm with information. So I'm trying to find that line of like how to present the information graphically and through text that is helpful and not just overwhelming. So stuff like that.
I think that's the biggest hurdle that we all kind of face, right? Is trying to figure out the balance between the text and the actual graphics and getting a good mix in there, because you want to be able to put some kind of copy in there, some written words in there, because it helps with, and here we go, we're going to use some scary words and scary marketing words. Sorry guys, but these are real things that actually are happening out there. It's SEO, which is the searchability of your Kickstarter campaign, which is why we put that on the page, because we want people to find it through different searches, through Google searches, or through if you type in incision, we want that to pop up because it says it so many different times in your page. So how do you find that balance between that? How do you go and look on your phone as you're building it and say, and I sometimes we love the bathroom because that's our throne and that's our time to kind of scroll through those things. So how do you figure those things out?
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm always like looking at it on my phone and tweaking, like, oh, that I could word that a little better, or
Mhm.
make that a little more clear. Or I'm always going in and editing it and just like what's the best way to get this across? And like, does it sound stupid, or is it because I've been staring at it for months? Does it only make sense to me and nobody else? So yeah, I'm always fiddling with it. I'll fiddle with it till the very last second.
It's kind of
Um,
like a script, right? When you like I recently sent Ben a script. He's like, all right, this is kind of doesn't make sense here. Can you kind of make sense of this? And you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't make sense because I've been looking at it for a couple months now, and like it
yeah,
makes sense to me because I've been looking at it. But when you're looking at it, you have no idea what's in my head.
Well, no,
yeah,
I actually just thought I wouldn't even say I've seen some scripts in my day, and I would say that what you had there was among as far as getting me what I need to really do the thing easily.
Mhm.
Pretty good. The only thing I was confused about was not really your fault at all. If I knew if that was a totally fresh story in its own little world, I wouldn't have had any questions at all. But thinking like, does that need to kind of look like the other thing?
And that's the things that you need to convey to these to different creators, right? That's the portion that I left out. I should have said, hey, make it look like this. Don't make it like I should have giving you a little bit more direction in that area, right? And those are those things that we kind of learn as we go and make those mistakes. And that's why we make those mistakes. I learn from my mistakes, and that's what we do. We play around with it. We figure it out. You figure out how receptive we were on the first time around and second, and then now the third, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important to do. I mean, I've said this, and I've talked a million times about the types of stuff I've seen in storyboard descriptions and scripts and things like that. I've gotten scripts where it's like 3 panel. That's not 2 panels on the page. Where like, this is the biggest panel, and I'm like, I knew you were thinking it, but it just doesn't work that way. But I think also when you're an artist writer, Jay, like you are, you really have to keep an eye on that, because you can't just pass it off to the artist and say, "Oh, they'll figure it out." Shit, I'm that guy. I have to do that. But that's the big challenge, and I think that. But doing that, I think, makes it. If you're thinking visually for a comic book, you're always going to have a better go at it. One thing I did want to ask you before we wrap up about kind of going off of what I was saying earlier about being on Kickstarter with a superhero book. I have seen people saying they're struggling. But I also look at stuff in the direct market. It's incredibly hard to get a super out there if there isn't a very, very clear hook. There's a million. You can be right. You can be buying Batman. You can be buying Spider-Man. You can be buying even more downlist obscure stuff. I think that the struggling on Kickstarter with superheroes is not necessarily due to that it's a superhero book on Kickstarter. I think it's the same struggle with superhero books everywhere. It's like, if you're a new character, I've got to see that image and maybe read the first couple pages, and I've got to know why this couldn't have just been a Spider-Man story or an X-Men story. And I think that's I think more the challenge for the people on Kickstarter, saying it's really tough to do that. And I do think there are unique challenges in terms of what the audience is there for, that they're completely legit to point out. But I think the real challenge is like, hey, you are competing with Batman, you are competing with Spider-Man. I think that is 60-70% of it is my suspicion. Have you thought about that, or have you kind of heard people say that? And
no, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. I mean, the last big superhero IP I can think of that really went huge, I'm thinking of like Invincible, and that's already 20 years old. So if it seems like if it's not something people grew up with, or there's multi-million-dollar media behind, it's just kind of noise to them. So you've got to have that hook. You've got to have something like it's superhero, but there's this to it. There's this twist, or we're looking at it from this direction. You got to have that nowadays. Otherwise, it's just gonna be noise.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of superhero books. A couple I can think of offhand that I have really been scratching my head, and I think that looks great. I'm really in their books. Some have done well, some have done less well than I think the creators. Obviously, everyone wants to do as well as can, but I have seen ones I've been surprised at, and I think that the real common denominator is it didn't as clearly say, hey, this is why this is different and more interesting. And
I see exactly what you guys are saying, right? Because what did they? DC went. They did it a couple different times with the Batman universe and stuff, right? With the where Batman was like carrying around like Joker's head in a jar, right? And then like it was like in the future, or then they have Batman, like they have the metal Batman stuff, right? So it's like you have to do these big, huge, extravagant things to bring them back in to actually accept it, right? Like when was the last time that they accepted a new villain? Was what, like Punchline, right? Or did they have they created a brand new one since then, and that people actually like?
I like the flower guy. Nobody else does. Mr. Bloom was his name. They're already making fun of him, but I thought he was cool.
See,
they certainly do try.
And they're creating these different, these they're doing these things, but we aren't very receptive to some of these things. So how are you kind of playing with your world a little bit to help people be a little bit more receptive to your work?
I'm trying to like amp up the cyberpunk aspect, because I think that's a cool differentiator, and I just enjoy drawing that and having Maya color and that style, lots of neon, lots of crazy lighting schemes and things like that. So that's kind of something that interests me. It's not as prevalent in the first issue. It kind of grows as the series grows. They change locales in the second issue, and it's a very cyberpunk kind of. It's an artificial island city out in the ocean, and so just a lot of room there to play with that kind of a thing. And then I'm playing with that more in this third issue. and then I'm going to take it even further in the issues 4 and 5. So that's
That was
kind
a
of
great
what I'm
moment, by
thinking.
the way. But when they go to the cyberpunk city and you're like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
thank
this
you.
is gonna be that too. And I think that goes back to what we were kind of saying about and asking about is what's the reason to check this out? And there's a little bit of that, oh yeah, this is gonna have this, and not just moments like that where it's a fun surprise, but oh yeah, the things I like about those movies are gonna start happening laced
Like
into the content.
the reason why we like the whole Wolverine Madripoor, storyline, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
100%. Well, I guess it's about 51 minutes, so we should wrap it up before we get kicked off again. But it's been, I'll bring this book back up just so everybody can see it one more time. It's in pre-launch now. I think you're launching.
I'm not gonna touch my computer. I promise. I'm just gonna stick.
I don't think it
Yeah,
was anything you did. It was the Google Drive links that had the big files. But just want to give everybody one more look at this great artwork, which I think just as much as anything I've seen on Kickstarter, this just tells me everything I want to know. If I'm into this, I know what it's selling, and it's really cool. You're launching pretty
appreciate
soon, I think.
Yeah, launching in a few days. Got a few little
Okay.
loose ends to wrap up on the campaign page, and then once I get all those, I'm just gonna launch that sucker. So it'll be here in a few days, probably a week at the most. But yeah, coming up real soon.
All right, and everybody can go follow. You can search our Kickstarter. You can go down to the show notes, and there is a link. It'll take you right there. We'll also take you to a few other cool books. We will start with Remember Part 3.
Yeah, remember Part 3. Oh, I love this one. This one is from our friend Patrick D. Foreman. He is one half of the Black Cotton creative team. He's got Damien Becton doing the writing on this one. This one is Part 3, so you can get 1 through 3 and the trade paperback. This one follows two detectives. One of them has a secret bloodline thing going on where they find out that there was a big, huge secret that happened. And unravels this whole thing, and it all has to do with murder, revenge, and all kinds of crazy cool stuff. There's somebody who is sending one of the characters on a killing spree by sending them just a couple of phrases on a piece of paper, just like you see on the screen there, and that's how they know their next target. So definitely you want to check this one out. All kinds of really great stuff. I've been talking to Patrick all weekend, and he wants to do some really cool stuff. He's going to do like blind bag like bundles for you guys where you guys can get some really cool stuff, never before seen covers. They're going to be hollow foils, they're going to be colors, like foils. They're going to be glow in the dark. He was even trying to throw at me, trying to see what we could do with it. Like, he wants to do some really, really, really cool stuff. He's also paying some artists to do some covers just for that blind bag. So that's the only way you guys are going to be able to get these books, and then you're going to be able to have to sift through them to see if that's the cover you actually get. So definitely check this one out. Follow today. You guys can go and do that by heading on over to Kickstarter, typing in Remember, and it's Remember Part 3. It's got to notify me on launch. Check it out, because this one is going to be where we're going to be working to get this one into the direct market as soon as possible. We got a really, really great list of retailers that we're going to be reaching out to. He sent me a test email, and it sounds really amazing. Like, if I read this thing, I would buy this freaking book. So definitely check it out.
All right, let's switch over to Department of Metahuman Affairs. Corey was our guest last week. He was kind enough to come on and tell us about his book. This one's got 70 hours to go, and I think is an example of what we were talking about. Is another really cool superhero book that you can get on Kickstarter. And
everything hits the mark on this one, right? You got the story, you got the artwork that is awesome, very reminiscent to like all the like late 90s stuff, early 90s stuff, and it's all the superhero storylines that you've been reading for decades, all culminated into this one comic book. And so why isn't this one doing better, right? It's everything's here, everything's hitting the mark. Like, this one is got what is he got $2,000 on this one as a thing. He's about 800, almost 900 there, $854 of $2,000. He's got 70 hours to go. Let's get this one funded, guys. We need to break the mark of that $1,000 so that we can get this one going. We definitely know that we can get those. So this is 1 through 5. He says, he told me the other day that you only get $20 for 150 pages of story. So that's a deal, and that's digitally if you guys want to get it that way. I forget, I haven't been able to scroll through that. I don't want to touch my computer, but I don't know what's the price of a all 5 issue bundle there.
You're right, $20.
$20 for the digital, and then if you guys want to grab the physical, please check that out. But man, $20 for 150 pages, that's not bad.
Not at all. Not at all. So yeah, I would love to see this one do a little better. Corey's a great guy. The book is fun. He's kind of thought his universe out in I think a fun way, and the art is on point. So,
and he knows his stuff about all the storylines, like all the big storylines of the comic book, like superheroes. Like he knows them all. Like he's read all the books. Like you guys are gonna want to read this.
Absolutely. Let's jump over to my book real quick. We Are Scarlet Twilight, Cobalt Crisis Part 1. This one is a return to We Are Scarlet Twilight. We pick up the story kind of from where it left off on a sort of victorious but somber note that more trouble is coming, and this is where the trouble arrives. This is going to be generally a mix-up of Crisis on Infinite Earths and Secret Wars, those big 2 events, but done as if they were kind of created in the 1940s and then sort of polished up to fit our modern taste as much as I can. So really wanted to get the fun of the retro pulp stuff in there, and also all the cool stuff we're used to seeing in like a Crisis thing, like Flash dying, or the stuff with Supergirl, the Anti-Mod, just all those moments we're kind of used to seeing. Spider-Man getting a new costume, things you don't expect that we see in those crossovers, but done in a sort of golden age style. So hopefully I can get all the best parts of that together and make this a fun one. And then that one should be launching soon. I think I said 2 pages last week, but I have a couple more on that to polish up, and of course a few other characters I hope my nephews will help me out on, and then we'll be ready to go. But that's at the link below, and you can head over there and get in the pre-launch for when we get that one ready to get out. And then of course, still in late pledges is I Need Your Skin.
Yeah, this one is my book. I Need Your Skin is a 28-page supernatural horror book. Think The Substance meets Smile, right? Where you got these really cool, creepy body horror kind of offerings, right? This follows Nora Perkins, who has a fear of aging. She thinks a clairvoyant can help her, but a deal will be made for a small piece of her flesh. This one is from our pals over at Rabbit and Hat Studios. We got Alan Dunford doing the writing. We got Brian Belando on the art and the colors. We got Dave on the letters. We got Ruben Macho doing a cover. We got Brian Godwin, and we got Kit Wallace cover, and we got a Benjamin W. Morse cover. Look, I can't even talk. I got too many names in my mouth. Benjamin W. Morse cover he did the homage there to Chamber of Chills and Misfits and all that good stuff. You guys can still grab this right now. It's in late pledges. We're going to be sending out the surveys very soon, where you could also get some add-ons. There's a brand new tier that I'm going to be adding on to your guys's so if you guys want to grab it, it is going to be the glow in the dark, because we unlocked the glow in the dark offering right at the tail end of the campaign, so nobody was able to get it. If you guys were waiting for that one, you will be able to add it on or at the end when we send out the surveys, so you guys can grab that one. Everybody who got that as part of one of the packages, the top tier packages there, you will get that. So definitely check that one out. We're going to be doing some really fun stuff with this one too. So, and then if you guys see us at Tucson Comic Con, come see us at the table. We'll have some really, we'll have a surprise for you guys with this book here. So check it out, please.
Yeah, very cool book, and just fun stuff coming from this universe as well. So definitely want to, if you haven't pledged this one, you still have time, and I don't think you'll regret it, because it's not only a fun story, but sets up a lot of cool stuff. I think that will do it for this week. Jay, I want to thank you again for coming on to talk about Incision. I really loved reading the book. I'd love to see, just such a good take on this, which is not necessarily a super high concept thing, which I think some people try to go for. It's just really something that's like, hey, here's what's going to be fun about this. Here's what's, a really clear presentation of what you're offering, and it just does everything right. So very cool book, and congratulations on it.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks guys for having me on. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I hope everybody watching, whether you're watching live or if you're watching later this week, I hope you go check out the link to get on the pre-launch for Jay's book. But I hope you guys have all had as much fun listening to Jay and Joey and I talk as I have. And we will see you all next week.